Well, it's finally here. Hello, I'm No02. Thank you for watching this video. I know I'm a little late to the game here. This update was leaked. Streamers and content creators have already reviewed it, but I sort of just wanted to not spoil it and just wait and look at the cards in the game now that it's developed. Because a couple of the cards are actually not quite as are not actually what they say in this notes. But anyways, hope you're ready for a long video. If you're not ready for a long video, I have two options for you. One, check the links or the timestamps in the video description. You can jump around as you see fit. And two, here is the super duper ultra fast Spark Notes for this update. Offline campaign with progression. You can earn supply points, skins, blah blah blah, counting towards all your objectives and your whatever your SWAT skin offline with bots by yourself if you want to. New card type, burn cards. We'll get to that later. But grenade duping has been removed. Speed running will be harder, but not impossible. All difficulties got easier. The game now feels like easy, medium, hard, as opposed to like really, really easy, decently hard, and like what felt near impossible. They sort of balance all that out. Weapon damage cards got buffed. Support cards got reworked or buffed because of the bug that was with EMT. Mutation spawns have been changed to feel more fair, less quantity. A bunch of bug fixes, right? That's the fast thing, right? So if that's all you wanted to hear, go on, get out of here. Okay, anyways. To those of you who are still here, welcome. Get yourself a drink. Put on something comfortable. Get in your nice chair. Because this is going to be long. We're going to be in-depth in this, right? In-depth review.
People will buy anything in the apocalypse.
Not going over everything, but just sort of going over what we got and etc. So let's start with it. New features: offline campaign with progression. Confirmed you can earn supply points. As far as at least at the end of the mission, you get them. Wasn't really paying attention if it was actually tacked onto my supply point pool or whatever, but all of the offline stuff totally progressible now. New supply lines, roving merchants. This is going to be a permanent thing where a supply line will show up. It will offer burn cards, and then it will have a timer on it. That timer will represent how long that roving merchant will be there. When the timer's up, that supply line will disappear and be replaced with a new one. So there will always be burn cards to buy now. New type of burn cards. Still messing around with this. There will be a video specifically on burn card because it looks like there's some interesting mechanics as far as how they work, when you can use them and when you can't use them, and potentially why you should be using them or not, things like that. But essentially, at the start of each mission, when you're picking your card, you're still going to pick your normal card in your deck. As an additional option, you'll have the choice for a one-time use burn card for that mission. The little details I'm not going to go in here, but that's sort of an initial thing. Does not disrupt your deck progression. Holiday event, everything's covered in Christmas lights. New cards, quick slot inventory follows the same pattern as the offensive slot and the support slot cards, just +1, +2, or +1 for the team, and etc. With the where is it? The tool belt. The team quick slot inventory +1 also gives the -10% health as all its counterparts do. There's now a practice area in the at Fort Hope to play the mutations, practice for swarm mode. There's a sign that says "Beware Ridden" at the little pond at the bottom of the shooting range. Walk up to that sign, you click on the sign, lets you choose a Ridden. When you want to not be a Ridden anymore, as far as I can tell, you walk back into the actual Fort of Hope, etc. Bots are randomized when you play with them, so now we have to cross our fingers and hope that we get Bot Walker. Stat tracking now enabled in training. I think this has to do with offline campaign progression, stuff like that. I don't know what this means, but anyways. Grenade duping is gone. You can no longer duplicate offensive utility items. Good. Get the heck out of here. You can no longer duplicate a card. From my understanding, you can like there was a glitch where you can if you clicked a card online like 15-ish times in a second using a macro, you can choose the same card twice. Is gone. Campaign updates. Increase player acceleration. Break friction. So if you want to stop moving, you stop faster, and if you want to start moving, you move faster up to your maximum pace or whatever it is. Isn't it making movement feel a little better, right? They say PC feel more snappy. That's the goal. We want PC to feel more snappy. For most of us, we probably won't even notice that big of a difference. Cleaner hitboxes, more accurate, reducing potential friendly fire. I'm sure you all experienced this. You're standing behind somebody, you're not even inside of them yet, and because you haven't bought them dinner, and then they shoot their gun and they kill you. Anyways, that should happen less often. Aim assist stuff for controller. Friendly fire no longer increases with each weapon tier. I don't know what that means exactly, but friendly fire is getting nerfed. Healing efficiency now improves temporary healing. Nice buff to pain pills. Bots now keep their existing inventory and upgrade their items with each map. I think this is actually a nerf. Because on 1-1, literally on all the levels, bots have purple gear. Bots have purple weapons and purple attachments on them. So the fact that they're going to be upgrading their weapons with each map might mean that they're going to start off with vanilla weapons with vanilla attachments and then work their way up to the purple weapon. So I think this is actually a nerf for the earlier levels in a campaign. To the bots. Made improvements to saving individual matchmaking settings, quick play, blah, blah, blah. Nice stuff. Smooth out player collision near the ogre spawn points. The ogre would like leave this pile of mush on the ground wherever he spawned and left, and you can get stuck on it. It was annoying. Fix the SWAT. Humans now give SWAT, blah, blah, blah. Added one additional card draw to Act 2 and Act 3. That's huge. Huge. You only got 12 cards in Act 2 and Act 3. Now you get 13. And we'll see later we have potential for 14 now. Improve the navigation of special ridden and areas. The jukebox can no longer be damaged after the last bus is loaded on Search and Rescue the Barroom Glitch. This is actually a really nice buff because the final bus would be like, all right, we're out of here. And it would be driving away. There would be a delay between that bus actually leaving the map and you being able to get inside the Jeep to complete the mission. And in that delay, if the jukebox died, all the zombies and the mutations that were aggroed by the jukebox would then come swarming at you. So this is going to make it much easier while you're waiting for that delay to finish. The remaining boxes are highlighted at the end of the T5 mission. The game already did this. It would put a magnifying glass over the crate after whatever, I don't know, 20 minutes or something like that, a really long time. Now it actually is going to highlight them and you can see them physically through the wall, sort of like if you were running weapon scav or ammo scav, whatever. Improve the navigation of Ridden. Basically, all this improved navigation means the Ridden will get stuck less often. So technically a buff to the Ridden. Made improvement collision, more Ridden stuff. Waypoint objectives, blah blah blah. Etc. Okay, that's good for that. Speed cards. Speed cards. This is the juicy stuff, okay? This is the juicy stuff. Speed card updates. Read the developers note. We noticed that the use of speed cards, or the use of speedrunning decks, was creating tension between players as a single player would utilize a speedrunning deck to separate from the rest of the team to rush ahead to finish the level. We made the following changes to bring speedrunning more in line with the viability of other strategies and builds. Speedrunning did kind of break the game. Before I go into the speed cards, the speedrunning community, the actual speedrunners, people who time themselves and then post that time on a leaderboard for all to see to get world records, the actual speedrunners. They would speedrun in training mode. They are innocent victims here. I'm sorry. I understand this change, though. I just want to talk about it briefly in that this is a 4-player co-op zombie shooter survival game, right? Every video game sells you on some sort of fantasy. In this game, we imagine ourselves with people, friends or strangers, working together, cooperating to overcome challenges, freeing each other from pins, sharing ammo. Look at this. There's who needs? Oh, you should get this bullet symbol on your sniper rifle, and look at this gun, and let's save our toolkit here. Let's do the bridge over here, and right, 4-player cooperative experience. Speedrunners, though, who were just desperately trying to beat Nightmare for his Watt skin, you'd be in the safe room, you'd hear the safe room door open, you'd look up, an Evangelo player would be running away through the map. Doesn't feel good. Sort of ruins the experience. If that player died, everything that he aggroed and triggered would then come rushing back at you, and you'd have to deal with the map now with only 3 players instead of 4. Kind of felt like that guy was trolling you. If that player was successful at speedrunning the mission, he would get to the safe room, close the door. That would significantly turn off the game director. Getting through the map hits invisible triggers that pushes the spawning of zombies away. The game wants to spawn things around the furthest player in the map. So if somebody was speedrunning, they're way deep in the map, and you shot birds next to you by the safe room, it would spawn a horde at the speedrunner. You control the speedrunner that way, right? And once if that guy died, then the spawns would the game director would realize, oh crap, where's the people? Okay, and he would switch the spawns around. But if you get all the way to the safe room, all the spawns are pushed up by the safe room. Essentially, again, ruining the experience because now 3 players are just walking through an entirely empty map. They can loot for free. There's almost no danger. And you're not really playing a survival horror game anymore. You're just walking. You don't get to play the game because somebody else got to play it for you. And that was sort of the negative. That was the tension between players in the single player world, between speedrunners and normal players. So I don't think that this is going to stop that element. It is going to make it less hard. It is going to make it harder, though. So the players having success will be less often, and hopefully then players will eventually give up on trying to speedrun because they suck at it. They suck at it. You can't be good at everything. Might as well play with your teammates and be okay at that. Evasive. Speed reduced to 15 from 20%. I'm gonna go through these real. Oh, whoops! Don't look. I'm embarrassed. I hit the down key. I'm going to read through these real quick, and then I'll show you the cards, what they actually look like right now, because some of these cards don't reflect what they say in these patch notes. Speed reduced to 15% was 20. Fleet of foot, now 8% was 10. This is all move speed. The damage resistance got increased from 5 to 7. Stamina efficiency for Mad Dash increased by 10%, now it's 40%. Olympic Sprinter damage resistance increased to 7%, was 5%. Right, Pep in your step was 10%, now it's 8%. Rhythmic breathing was 60% bonus stamina, now it's 40% bonus stamina. But they did remove the slow resistance negative effect on that card, so it just gives plus 40 stamina flat, that's all it does. Changed Run Like Hell, this is a big one. This is one of the key ones. Did you guys know Mad Dash and Run Like Hell and Fleet of Foot were the top 3 movement speed cards? By far. In fact, people were just running those 3 cards and not running any extra stamina, and then utilizing the speed jump cancel to get to maximize their stamina. And also for speedrunners, the bots would get mandatory PT, so you didn't need stamina if you had bots in your team. You just needed move speed. This is a big one. Change the move speed. Or I'm sorry. Run Like Hell used to say when you took damage, you would get minus 20% accuracy. Completely irrelevant. Did literally nothing. It was free 15% move speed. Now it's only 12% move speed, and instead it says if you take damage, this 12% move speed buff disappears for 3 seconds. The 3-second timer will reset every time you take damage. Speed Demon, 6% move speed reduced down to 4. Stimulants refactored. I don't know. I looked this word up. I'm not proud. I'm not so proud as to pretend I know what this word meant when I read it. Refactored sort of sounds like what it means though. Refactored can also mean like reconstructed, right? But like if you're reconstructing a building, the building still serves the same purpose. It just looks or feels different. So cards that are refactored, because this is the word that they're using, could also be reworked. But refactored cards are cards that are still trying to accomplish the same concept as they did before, but they look almost entirely different now. They do different things now. Stimulants refactored no longer gives bonus move speed, instead gives 20% stamina regen and increased reload speed to 15% was 10. 15% swap speed was 10. Was 10. Right? And so here are the speed cards now. Evasive action is when you take damage 10 or more, you get the extra bonus. Now it's 15. Fleet of foot, 7% damage resistance, 8% movement speed, right? You can see 40% stamina efficiency. This basically means that um, your stamina bar is like, in theory, half the size that it would be because your sprint is going to burn through your stamina bar 40% faster, so it's going to last 40% less as long. In theory, your effective stamina bar is being reduced with Mad Dash, and this is pretty significant. This is like pretty significant as far as you being able to speedrun. Olympic Sprinter, extra damage resistance, add a minus to it. Precision Pep and Step is the when you get precision kills, you move faster. Um, you move less fast now. Rhythmic Breeding is just a plus 40 stamina. That's all it does now. Just a flat plus 40. Run like hell. You can see now when you take damage, move speed is reduced. Speed Demon is the reload with SMG and move speed with SMG. Now it's slightly less. And Stimulant looks like this now. Kind of neat. Combat cards is the next one, though, here. These got a huge buff. And so in the same way that we're nerfing speed cards now, we want to buff the other ways to play the game to continue to incentivize players to not speedrun, essentially. Speedrunning is fine if all 4 players want to do it, right? Like you get into a lobby and you're like, hey, everyone want to speedrun? And all 4 players go, yeah, let's do it. Like, that's fine. That's not going to ruin any individual's player experience. It does still kind of break the game. Speedrunning with 4 people is crap anyways, but combat cards got a really nice buff. There's really interesting stuff here. We received feedback that players did not feel that slow and steady combat was as viable as other strategies. Additionally, we wanted to balance the changes to speedrunning in general. We've refactored and buffed the following combat cards to make combat more viable. I talked about this a little bit in my 100% accuracy deck video. When it came to running damage or getting cards that buffed your weapon damage, um, it was almost completely irrelevant to do unless you were running a sniper rifle or a shotgun, which offered the highest potential damage per shot. But it was also slow. You can't just get 1 damage card and just expect to kill things all of a sudden in nightmare mode. You needed 2, 3, 4 damage cards, reload speed cards. It was a wombo combo that took a lot of setting up to do. It was really rather slow and really hard to do it in the first checkpoint of any of the acts because at least Act 1 and Act 2 have a high demand for some stamina or movement speed cards for the crossing and for the handyman. And so it sort of really limited players who wanted to be the damage dealer early in the campaign. You're going to have more options now to do it sooner. It's going to be more faster and more snappy to get there. Cold Brew, now ADS 25%, weapon swap 25%, use speed 25%, reload speed plus 15%. Now, it doesn't say anything here about getting rid of what Cold Brew did before. Cold Brew used to read 100% stamina regeneration minus 50% max stamina. So my assumption was that that was still going to be there and that this was just being added to it. And I thought, that card might be an interesting trade-off now. No. It just does that now. They didn't say anything about it. But they just got rid of the old cold brew coffee and just made a new card. Totally refactored. Not even refactored. Totally reworked. So this is a really cool quality of life card now. Really cool. It does a little bit of everything. Really neat. I'm really excited to play around with this card and other cards as well. So Cold Brew now, card to be looking out for. Combat Training, removed 50% bullet penetration, added 1% plus 1 bullet stumble and plus 5 melee stumble. Now plus 5% bullet damage, plus 25% bullet stumble. I don't know where the 25% bullet stumble is. And it's not on the card. Is it in the background? Is it still there? I don't know. But just so you guys know, plus 1 bullet stumble is going to be really significant for SMGs, ARs. Not really significant for sniper rifles. Right? Because it's just plus 1 damage per bullet. Or plus 1 stumble per bullet. So, For sniper rifles, not a big deal. If the 25% bullet stumble is here, that's a huge deal for sniper rifles, but otherwise, this is for fast firing weapons. Kind of neat. The extra stumble value. Stumble's huge. Swing Point has a great video for stumble. If you don't know about it, go check out Swing Point's bullet stumble. He explains the math, how it works, and how valuable it is because it's huge. It's really valuable. Energy drink stamina reduced to 15% was 40, removed 5% damage resistance, added weapon swap, move speed while firing, slow resistance. Here's energy drink now. No more negative effects. A lot of these cards are just having their negative effects removed, and then some of them having that plus things added to it. The energy drink is now one more card that gives us move speed while firing, making a move speed while firing deck more viable. I mean, if you have move speed while firing percentage over 100, you actually accelerate in movement when you shoot your gun. It's kind of fun and neat thing you can do. The slow resistance, pretty interesting here, because when you get hit by damage, you automatically get slowed. Now you resist it. Highwayman. The tooltip added all secondary weapons, right? It wasn't clear before it said pistols, but I think it worked for all secondary weapons. Now that's more clear. Ammo chance drop increased 3% was 2%, now has a chance to drop Molotovs. Mugger does the same thing now. Ammo chance drop increased to 3%, but now drops Razor Wire. Super duper cool. I don't know if Highwayman or Mugger are going to be viable cards, but this is an interesting thing for game design. Sometimes you don't need to buff a card into the meta. Sometimes you don't need to make all the cards meta cards. You just need to make cards that are fun. And getting an extra Molotov every once in a while is going to be really fun. Really fun. So something to check out, something to play around with, practice, test it. Let me know how that 3% feels. Large caliber rounds, as far as I can tell, it does the same thing, but it just has its penalty removed. It no longer gives minus stamina efficiency. Line 'em up used to be the 100% bullet pen when using ARs. Now it's range fall off 10%, which is the same thing as the long barrel does. Recoil control, bullet pen, ADS speed no longer requires ARs. Really nice rework of this card. Some more quality of life things here, and again, this effective range is going to increase damage over range, so ARs and sniper rifle people who want to be damage dealers are going to be looking at this card as a potential card to pick up. Marathon Runner no longer disables Sprint. The point of this card is that you are able to sort of walk and kite and move around and shoot and things like that, but it would turn off your sprinting, and it was horrible. But now with the increased player acceleration, now with extra cards that give you move speed while firing, Marathon Runner is going to be a critical card potentially if you want to do some sort of snappy, shoot your gun, move fast, control space, area, things like that. This is going to encourage a potential play style for the game for players who want to be in the thick of the action, shooting their gun, pow, 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 fast reload speed, in the front of it all, getting into the danger, shooting your gun and backing out of the danger. It's an interesting potential here. Mugger, we talked about. Patient Hunter. You used to have to wait a second. You had to wait a second for Patient Hunter to give you your bonus damage. Now it's only 0.75 seconds. So it's now faster to get your 30% damage buff. Power swap in the same way. You had a 0.75 seconds to do the power swap to get your bonus damage. Now you only need 1 second. And if you didn't know this before, power swap was infinitely stacking with itself. And there was builds that did that. And they were sort of cheesy, nonsense builds. No longer stacks. Way more balanced. Power swap got a nerf and a little buff. Power reload, again, more forgiving now. You have a 1 second to get your power reload off. Kind of cool. This is going to make more guns more reachable as far as getting the power reload, power swap triggered. Silver bullets. Silver bullets used to say, let's see if they have it here. They don't. Silver bullets used to read 10% damage and then 150% bullet pen. And then if you got a mutation kill, you got minus copper. They got rid of the negative effect. They added the effective bullet range. This is overall better. It seems like they're stepping away from the bullet pen because it really wasn't that relative. And bullet pen would more often than not end up resulting in you shooting birds. You'd shoot through a zombie and the bullet pen would go all the way through 5 zombies and then hit birds and then you'd trigger an alarm. So this is overall a huge buff, again, just for all the damage-based cards. For all the damage-based cards. They did something neat here. They did something neat here for steady aim and tunnel vision. They added a stacking buff while ADS that gives 10% to 30% recoil reduction over 2.25 seconds. Tunnel vision does the same thing, but it's with extra weak spot damage increasing from 5 to 15% over 2.25 seconds. Looking like this. These are two cards that really just didn't do anything significantly. 80% aim speed. It's a nice quality of life thing. We really don't need it. But now with the extra recoil control, you probably won't need it. Tunnel vision, though, extra aim speed, but extra weak spot damage. This is going to be a nice quality of life card for a sniper rifle now. I think I can see this card being snuck in. Especially if you're not playing Jim and you want to be the damage dealer. And the last card here is Well Fed. Well Fed reads exactly the same, except it used to say minus 20% stamina efficiency, right? Now it's just free. Now it's just free. Plus 10, plus 40 health for the team, right? Net gain 40 health. Okay, kind of cool. Healing cards. So if you didn't know this before, healing cards here, experienced EMT, right? This is the card that used to give you extra health. This card used to give you max 20% health. And then, at the end of the mission, that extra 20% health would result in the removal of 20 points of stamina. That was actually a bug. A bug. It was not supposed to be removing trauma, but experienced EMT was the best way in the game to remove trauma from your team. Best way, hands down. Cheapest way, most efficient way. And you can do it super early in the mission. In addition to combat card buffs, we've made the following changes and buffs to healing cards. So Fresh Bandage now heals 15 health at the start of each level. The trauma recovery increased to 15 instead of 10. This is sort of huge. Sort of huge, because the only other way now to recover 15 trauma, now that experienced EMT doesn't work the way it used to, is medical professional, and that requires a med kit or defibrillators. Fresh Bandage, you just pick and it does the same thing, but for yourself. So as far as trauma recovery goes, Fresh Bandage is now neck and neck with medical professional, which is huge. Because without experienced EMT, players' options to remove trauma is pretty limited. Fresh Bandage is now a great option to consider. Group Therapy, heal increased to 8 instead of 5. Group Therapy is this card when you use a medical accessory. Your whole team heals. This is still a garbage card, I think. This is still a garbage card. Life Insurance got a big rework here, a big refactored. Extra life gained has been reduced to 1 instead of 2, but now reduces the team in-cap trauma by 15%. There's no more copper loss. This is what it looks like. Kind of cool, especially since Rousing Speech is actually a horrible card. It's the only other card that gives in-cap trauma reduction. This card actually got nerfed as well. This card was bugged. It was giving way more trauma resistance than it was supposed to. Now it's working correctly. Rousing Speech was a garbage card before. Still a garbage card now. What's better than Rousing Speech by 100% is Life Insurance. I don't think that 15% is a huge deal. But if you're going to run a plus life card, probably better than Second Chance now. Life Insurance is probably better than Second Chance now. And though, of course, you're going to see here with Needs of the Many. Needs of the Many got buffed. Needs of the Many used to give a minus 20% health. Now it's just minus 10%, which is actually really significant, because health is a pretty valuable resource in Nightmare mode. But now the fact that this Needs of the Many is completely negated by Walker's team buff, way more viable, especially if you have a Walker on your team. If you don't have a mom on your team, your support player, or somebody on your team will most likely be running Needs of the Many. And it's way safer to do so now. Pep Talk got refactored. Now gives a flat 3% or flat 3 damage resistance from all sources, and grants 10 health of the revived target. Kind of neat, kind of interesting. If you have this flat 3% damage removal, plus scar tissue for an extra 4 damage removal while you're rezzing someone, you can actually tank through some damage over the time things. Like acid and fire, I think you become invulnerable to. Because those are doing like 3 or 4 damage at a time, over time, doing damage over time. So having Pep Talk and Scarred Tissue will render you invulnerable to acid while you're rezzing. Things like that. Kind of neat, kind of interesting. If you're rezzing somebody who's in acid and then you pick them up, they're going to be standing in acid and then they die anyways. So, interesting card to have. If you're trying to res somebody and a random zombie runs up and whacks you in the back while you're trying to res, be less punishing. Not a big deal. Probably not a meta support card at all. This is the card that I'm really excited for. Safe Room Recovery. Now heals 15 health and trauma recovery up to 7. This was buffed to mitigate the trauma loss, the trauma heal on experienced DMT. This is a card I talked about a little bit. How I thought this card was really neat, but not very good. This card is bordering on almost a must-have, I think, now, because a 7 trauma reduction for your whole team, 28 trauma recovery per mission, and the extra health, and it refills 10% of your ammo at the start of each mission. There's a lot of value going on for this card here. If you get it right at the first mission that it becomes reasonable, the second mission of a checkpoint, it's gonna be 21 net gain for each player. Sorry, 21 per player, which is almost a full cabinet heal, because cabinets heal 30 trauma, the 400 copper. So Safe Room Recovery will basically save you 1 cabinet heal per 3 to 4 levels. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. The Experienced EMT got reworked. It's somewhere else in the patch notes, but we'll cover it now. Instead of giving 20% maximum health, it only gives 10% maximum health, but now gives 10% maximum stamina regen as well, which then sort of makes us look at a card like Mandatory PT. Experienced EMT and now Mandatory PT are in the same category essentially now. The extra 10% health is neat, kind of nice. Something else that could potentially counter Needs of the Many is 10% loss or whatever. But the extra stamina and stamina regen, for the caveat of having to buy pain pills and pop them on everybody, can also be an alternative to Mandatory PT, a little more flexible. Extra stamina regen for those of us who like to mismanage our stamina, extra health to buy us a couple extra hits, 1 to 2, over just the extra 5% team stamina. But you do have to buy things in order to trigger this, right? So sort of an interesting concept here for us to compare these two cards, and etc. Okay, general card changes. Share the Wealth, Baxo Bogs, Surplus Pouches, Experienced EMT are no longer apply their effects an additional time after a team wipe. If you ever found yourself with like 6 or 7 grenades and you didn't know why, it's because those cards would trigger again when you restarted a mission. Kind of silly. The bug has been identified and been removed. Team ammo cards at the vendor now give a 1% damage increase. This is super neat. When I did the economy video and I talked about team upgrades, health and ammo were like, health, ammo, and stamina I was like, stay away from. They're not really worth it. The team upgrade now for ammo gives a 1% damage increase. Probably still not worth it, but kind of a fun idea. In the future, I imagine health upgrades will give plus 1% damage resistance. Stamina upgrades will give plus 1 movement speed. I think that all makes sense. So kind of a neat thing here that I didn't think about, but we can, that the devs can buff and change and twerk. You know what I mean? The devs are twerking. They're tweaking. They're tweaking the team upgrade cards, and potentially there could be more team upgrades in the future. More content to look forward to. Adrenaline fueled. I don't know. Oh, these are general. I forgot to put these in. Adrenaline fueled card refactored. No longer gives bonus stamina, no longer reduced stamina regen, no longer gives instant stamina. It just stacks up to 5 times and gives 7 stamina over 7 seconds. Kinda neat. Kinda neat. Right? This is what it looks like now. Much, 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 much simpler. No longer does the Holly effect, essentially. This card would basically let you be Holly, because it would give you 100% bonus stamina, minus 75% stamina regen. You'd lose stamina regen, but if you got kills, kills would trigger you getting more stamina, sort of like Holly. Still works in a similar concept, but not quite the same. Is it a buff? Is it a nerf? I don't know. Using this card was pretty a niche thing anyway, so we'll see how it goes. Ammo Mule no longer disables support items, but instead lowers your movement speed. Here's Ammo Mule. Minus 5% move speed. This is a huge buff. Huge buff to Ammo Mule. I talked about it in the Pyro Hoffman deck, where, like, because this card would disable our support items instead of the 5% movement speed loss. So I was like, maybe in the future we would use Pyro to heal, and then Ammo Mule would make sense because we wouldn't need the healing accessories anyways. No longer a thing. Ammo Mule is now a card to consider if you like to never let go of the trigger and you don't know how to shoot. Bounty Hunter text mentioned. I discovered this on stream when I was streaming Back for Blood. A Bounty Hunter always triggered on team kills. You didn't need to get the last hit. Now Bounty Hunter says the correct thing. So Bounty Hunter works exactly the same. It just reads correctly now. Experienced over EMT, we went over it, we refactored it, no longer his trauma. Due to the bug fix where this card was applying its effects more than it intended, this ended up healing trauma which was not intended. No longer does that, it's been removed. Energy bar stamina. Oops. Used to be 20% stamina regen plus 5 health, now it's 30% stamina regen. They're sort of, they nerfed the move speed cards, and then they're adding stamina regen, buffing the stamina cards. So now you don't move quite as fast, but you can move for longer in theory. Hyper focus. This is the big one. This is the big one here. Hyper focus used to read minus 75% move speed while aiming down sights. Now it's minus percent move speed while shooting or melee attacking. This is gonna feel worse now. This is technically a nerf. This was one of the best cards in the game for killing mutations. One of the best cards in the game. As far as like running one card to increase your damage, a lot of times it would be this. You get the most bang for your buck out of it. This card has been nerfed. You already move slower when shooting. Now you're moving even slower when you're shooting. It's going to make like hip firing feel like you're ADSing, and it's going to make ADSing feeling like you're immobilized. Essentially. And then wooden armor got a buff. No longer gives the minus 100% explosive resistance. Before with wooden armor, if you got caught next to a propane, an exploder, a teammate's grenade, it would heck you up. It would pretty much kill you most of the time. So wooden armor, less volatile as far as just instantly dying, because you would just instantly die if you got caught in an explosion. With the fire resistance and the acid resistance, though, those are sort of more dodgeable things, right? You run into trouble with reekers, volatile zombies, fire zombies, things like that. But now it's like, you can sort of play around these weaknesses now. Before, with the grenade damage, or the explosive damage, sometimes your teammate would just throw a bad grenade and literally kill you. Just blow you up. Sometimes, exploder would walk around a corner and you're trapped in a room and you die now. That volatility is not going to happen now. Way more playable. Wooden armor can be an interesting choice now. Though with that being said, is there really any good deck out there that's running trauma resistance? Like, how do you can sneak this card in, but really at the end of the day, the best thing that you can do to deal with trauma is just avoid damage. So this card becomes less and less valuable the better you play. Sort of an interesting concept, right? The better I play, this card becomes less useful. Corruption card updates. Corruption boss cards no longer appear at the start of an act. These cards were causing a spike in all difficulties. We want players to have more time to prepare for bosses and later chapters. So I don't think you can get a boss card now on 1-1 of any act. How far this extends into the missions, we don't know. Hag will no longer spawn with the Fog Corruption card. The Hag was stacking with boss objectives, causing a difficulty spike in all difficulties. It was really ridiculous. You would have a Hag show up and then a Breaker show up, and you're just like, holy crap. And the Fog card was already bonkers hard to deal with, right? Fog cards are already hard. So the Hag will be showing up less often. The Hag will be showing up when the boss card is seen. The Breaker has been removed from all difficulties from the Rescue Bookworms. Cool. Sometimes the Breaker would spawn inside the church. I mean, inside the library, which was kind of fun to fight in the library because there's a lot of verticality and more things. But Bookworms now easier. Balance updates. Balance updates. All guns have the aim assist set to snap, whatever. Aim assist, aim snap reduced, and made aim assist, blah blah blah. Right? We're PC players. Just kidding. Console players, check that out. Aim assist stuff. Bird's health reduced to 1. It was 10. This is important because of two things. One, Molotovs can now kill birds. Molotovs didn't kill birds before. The birds would be able to fly off. They would fly out of the Molotov damage range before it would kill them. Now you can use Molotovs to kill birds because that initial points of damage will pop the birds instantly. The other thing that's about this is shotguns. Shotguns typically did around like 8-ish damage per pellet. And so you need to shoot twice, or shoot with an AA-12, or have an upgraded shotgun. You need like a green or a blue shotgun in order to do the 10 damage. Now it doesn't matter. Now with a gray shotgun, you can scattergun a bunch of birds all at once, making killing birds way easier. This is actually rather significant as far as being able to kill birds. Flashbang grenade damage reduced to 1. This is for friendly fire. You weren't using flashbangs to actually kill things, but dropping a flashbang at your feet is going to be a more viable strategy. Slightly less punishing. Slight buff to flashbangs that were already really strong anyway, so it doesn't matter. M16 damage increased. The M16 I think is my favorite gun to use. It's always done the same damage as the AK, but the M16 offers more movement speed and things like that. So not that it does more damage, I think it's better than the AK, though I think the AK's DPS is slightly better because it shoots faster. And the AK has longer range, but either way, nice buff to the M16 to make it more viable. Don't take the M16 and shoot zombies with it. Why are you burning 3 bullets at a time to kill a zombie? You use the M16 to shoot the horde, or to shoot mutations. Use your sidearm to kill zombies. Anyways, that's ammo efficiency 101. The burst M9's damage increased to 12 was 10. This is probably the worst of the pistols, but because it was a sidearm that you didn't want to shoot zombies with. You just wanted to shoot mutations in the horde with it, but it sucked at doing those either way. So, anyways, little buff to that gun. Razor wire is now a quick slot item. That's huge. I don't know how exactly it's going to affect the game, but it's going to make the bonus quick slot cards more juicy, maybe? Though most people just piggyback the wire anyways. This is going to give you more slots, more potential as far as like holding up in a room. We can potentially save a grenade when a exploder, a reeker, a stalker, when those things show up, and you might feel tempted to throw a grenade because they're about to get in the room. Razor wire can potentially replace or save a grenade in those particular circumstances because you're carrying both now. So making the holdout strategy in a room more viable because you're going to have more resources to deal with it. I guess the MP5 was broken. It wasn't shooting as fast as it was supposed to. Now it shoots faster. Cool. Fire rate reduced. I didn't test this out. I actually don't know if this is a buff or a nerf to the shotgun. I don't know if this is like it. Oh, it's a buff. Okay. Okay, that's important to know. I know it says for the 870, fire rate reduced to 0.4. This is actually a buff. It shoots faster. It took 0.55 seconds to pump the shotgun and ready a second shell. Now it only takes 0.4 seconds to pump the shotgun and fire in a shell. This is a buff, not a nerf. The 870 Express shoots faster now. Combat Knife increased combat attack with. This is the worst card in the game. It's now slightly better. It's still the worst card in the game. Even if you can potentially kill one more zombie with it, or you miss less often now when you're using the Combat Knife. The fact of the matter is, when you kill a zombie, it loses all of its collision. You remove your ability to push zombies away from you. Acid, fire, or the Horde, right? You're not going to stab 50 zombies before they kill you, but you can actually stumble 50 zombies in the right place and then kill them with your gun. Combat Knife hurts you. Don't ever use this card. It's the worst card in the game. In line with the attachments, or with the line with the speedrunning nerfs, the light stock, the movement speed stocks, the blue one has been reduced to 0.75 instead of 10. The purple one gives plus 10 instead of 15. I don't know what that is. Okay, balance updates difficulty specific. This is big stuff. One of our goals is to decrease the disparity between the various difficulties, so there isn't as much of a jump from recruit to veteran to nightmare. Recruit has been nerfed. Damage resistance increased. Extra money when you die. Extra healing when you die. Extra trauma when you die. Veteran mode. Friendly fire values have been rescaled. Does it say here? It doesn't say here. It used to give a value of, in veteran mode it was plus 40% friendly fire, plus 60% friendly fire. They've reworked it. I'm assuming they nerfed it. But the details aren't here. Sleepers no longer call hordes in veteran mode. Player base damage increased by 20%, was 100%. Player base health increased by 15. Player ammo capacity increased by 20. Players now heal 5 trauma per safe room per mission. Whatever. If you were to die, you'd get bonus money when you team wipe. Now you get 200 instead of 150. Extra heal when you get wiped. And the first aid cabinet has 1 additional heal on it. It gets 2 free heals now in veteran mode. Easier. Rescaled the friendly fire values. I assume it's less than more. This is big. First aid cabinet, free use increased to 1. It was 0. The game was like, hey, we got rid of EMT. You have less options to heal trauma. Let's give you 400 copper for free when you hit the heal trauma. This is a big deal. Health is one of the most expensive resources that we have. Healing trauma is quite hard. And now it's easier. Now it's easier from a card's perspective, and now it's easier in-game, in the mission. This is probably going to lead to people in Nightmare mode just yoinking the heal, and people will yell at each other. It'll be fun. Special Ridden damage reduced to 35%. It was 75% bonus damage. That's quite a lot. The Hawker whatever would do like 10 points of damage on initial hit, plus an additional 75%. Now it's only 35. Way less damage. Common damage reduced by 50% was 100%. I don't know the exact values here. We can go to whatever. Statty. Damage charge here, right? Damage, ridden stats, whatever, nightmare mode. Where's her damage? That was just their health? Where's their damage? Anyways, they do less damage. That's the point I'm trying to make. They do less damage in nightmare mode. Nightmare extra trauma from in-cap reduced by 5 points. Reduce the stumble resistance. Again, Swingpoint has a great video about stumble and how it works and what the values are and all the math. But it's going to be much easier to stumble things now on Nightmare mode, potentially being able to do it with vanilla weapons, without attachments. Going to make Nightmare way easier if you know how stumble works in a general sense. If you understand stumble, if you're a gamer, you want to use all the tools at your advantage, look into stumble. It's going to be a key way to play Nightmare. Reduce the mutation, the special health by half. Was 15%, now 7.5%. They're going to be easier to kill. Currency bonus when you die. These are almost all of these were zeros. So when you get teamed wipe and you use your continue, you get extra money. You heal some extra health. You recover some trauma. You get an extra card draw. That is huge, an extra card draw when you wipe. I think this is fun. More cards is fun, right? More cards is fun. Um, so now on Act 1, where you only get 14 cards, now you get your full 15 if you team wipe. On Act 2 and Act 3, we now get 13 cards, plus an extra one if we team wipe. And one interesting thing that I hope this works, or maybe it doesn't, there is a burn card that lets you get an extra continue. You get an extra continue if you use a burn card. So if you use that burn card, get an extra continue, and then you wipe twice, and then you're on your last continue now, do you get 2 extra cards? We don't know. Someone, if you know that, type it in the chat or in the comments. Extra ammo on continue. Extra in cap reduced to 7. Reduced to 7. Oops, sorry about that. So Nightmare is going to be way easier. I just want to talk about this for a second here, because some Nightmare players are sad about this. We like the challenge. We like the pain. Right? There's a little bit of pride in it. You know, I'm a Nightmare player. I only play Nightmare, and I didn't cheat, and I didn't speed around. I played it legit, and I did it with randoms. I got videos of me doing it with random people and having success. People doing it with their friends. We can do it. We're gamers. And then they nerfed it. And we're like, ah, I don't need that nerf. I'm strong. I'm a gamer. The reality of it is, Nightmare mode was unplayable for the bulk of the player population. That's not the dev's fault. That's just the climate of any casual player base. You know, people aren't interested in worker splits or mid-maxing your stumble damage or, you know, maximizing your damage, you know, because of the multiplicity of it all and things like that. Casual players are just not into the... It's the reason why players are so upset with the weapon attachment system, why they want a card that will let you remove weapon attachments. It's because people aren't interested in the little mid-maxy things, the little details, the problem solving that Nightmare mode presented. There's maybe a little bit of entitlement with that for players who are just like, I'm good at gaming, I should be able to do Nightmare mode. Regardless of all that psychology and what's going on there, the fact of the matter is, people are leaving Nightmare mode because it's too hard and they don't want to learn how to play it. That's the fact of the matter. Making Nightmare mode way more accessible, making the base game, right, the vanilla game, have a clear-cut, easy, medium, and hard, will mean that more players will come back to Nightmare mode, more players will be playing Nightmare mode, more players will find success in Nightmare mode, and thus, Nightmare mode will have a healthier player population, making the game feel more alive. And hopefully that player population will stay healthy enough to carry us to the next patch, which will release new content. And then when that new content comes out, more players come back, they try the game out, they try Nightmare mode, they go, oh, it's playable. It feels more fair. So overall, I think for the health of the game, all these nerfs are correct. But hopefully the Nightmare mode won't feel free. Spawning updates. This is the big one. People are complaining about the mutation spawns being too much, too frequent, etc. Or my wife texted me. So, look at all these things. There's endless hordes, back-to-back hordes, horde special ridden, where is it? Timed hordes, roaming special ridden, wandering special ridden. There's all these different categories at which a special mutation, a special ridden, might spawn. We didn't know these existed, I think, for the most part, right? We're getting an insight here into the game director and how there's all these different circumstances that can be met that will spawn a mutation throughout a mission. What was happening is that they were all happening at the same time. They're all triggering at the same time. So during all these different horde events, the special ridden are limited to 2 of a given type and a maximum of 4. Maximum of 4. Added a horde special ridden cooldown. This helps avoid the doubling of special ridden with multiple hordes when multiple hordes are triggered. Time hordes made a longer minimum resume time of 60 seconds was 30 with the exception of custom events. If you triggered a horde while having a timed horde, it was possible to have the timed horde trigger too soon after the initial horde. Anyways, things were stacking together. Max, roaming special ridden max count is now 4 instead of 6. Limits the potential special ridden counts in certain circumstances. Reduce the rate of tallboy variants on veteran and nightmare difficulties. Increase the minimum spawn distance to 30 meters, was 20. Increase the minimum spawn distance. Increase the minimum spawn distance from 10 meters to 5 meters. I don't know what the difference is between wandering and roaming, but they could spawn like almost literally right next to you. 5 meters is like almost melee range, right? So now things are going to be spawning not quite as close to you. 10 meters is still pretty close. But anyways, overall, the point of this is there's going to be less mutations spawning at the same time. It's going to feel more fair, because something would happen and then 8 tall boys would show up and you'd be like, what the hell? How am I supposed to deal with 8 tall boys all of a sudden? Anyways, it's going to feel more fair. The mutation spawning has been tweaked, and we'll hopefully continue to see it tweaked in the future. Ridden AI updates. There's some nice stuff here. Blighted Ridden no longer deal instant explosion damage when they die. That's huge. You'd pop an acid zombie, they'd explode and hurt everything in like a 10-meter radius. It was painful. No longer does that now. Special Ridden defense against bullet penetration to weak spots has been reduced. Sleepers will more accurately connect with their targets. Cool. Sleepers are dodgeable, and actually they're relatively easy to dodge if you sort of had the space and then know how to do it. Less hard now. I mean, it's going to be more hard now to dodge them. Tallboy and Bruiser hitboxes are more accurate, and their weak spots are easier to hit. Their weak spots are like bigger now, like a little more swollen. But we cleaned up the Tallboy's hitboxes to make them easier to hit. It should now be possible to hit their weak spot from the front if you have a precise weapon. Nice little nerf to the Tallboys. The following changes make their attacks a bit more forgiving to dodge. Tallboy and Bruiser overhit attack, the radius, the circle in which it hits, was 250, now it's 200. Tallboys have less ability to turn during their burst traversal. When they're like charging you, they would just like do 360s and go around corners and up cars and down cars and turn around the bend. They can do that less often now. I haven't seen what this looks like now with the nerf, but I assume it's only good. Decrease the Crusher attack distance. The Crusher, remember like the Crusher would reach out into Oblivion and like pull you out of the Nether Realm and then start crushing you? 100% less units. I don't know what units are, but there's 100 less of them. So Crusher grab range has been reduced. Like literally his arm won't extend quite as far now to grab you. Wretch's effective range was 25 meters, now it's 22. Tracking and ramp up time adjusted to work better. The Wretch will rotate slightly slower and will track the target for slightly longer during the vomit attack. So he would vomit for 1.6 seconds, now he vomits for 2.25 seconds, but he turns slower. The projectile spray also starts at a lower velocity, now 75% of what it used to be, and then ramps up to a max velocity over a longer period of 0.75 seconds instead of 0.4 seconds. So before, Wretch would turn the corner, he'd see you, he'd vomit, you'd instantly take some damage, because it traveled so fast. You'd have less than a second of a cushion to get out of the way. So Wretches have less range, and they're easier to dodge on initiation, but they will vomit for longer. So this is going to weaken Wretches in open space. In open space, they're going to hit you less often, and be easier to dodge in open space when they're trying to chase you with their vomit. But in confined spaces, they're going to vomit for longer, for more, potentially covering more space. So nice little sort of rework here, because the point of the Wretch is to dislodge you from a holdout spot. He's going to be better at doing that, but weaker at just killing you out in the open now, because that wasn't his job. That's the Hawker's job, you know. Exploder's explosive radius is now visible to the ridden player. This should be in Swarm, but cool. The Hawker pin projectile. Hawkers are way easier to dodge now. Their projectile speed loses 1,000 whatever the hell, 1,000 units. But this is the big one here. Hawker pin missile cooldown increased to 8 seconds was 0. If the Hawker missed you, he would just shoot again for free. But now he has to wait 8 seconds. Hawker pin hit cooldown increased to 8 seconds was 2. When the Hawker hit you, he would get 2 seconds and then he'd shoot someone else. Ridiculous. His initial damage has been reduced to 5 was 10. Damage over time reduced to 3. Oh, I'm sorry, increased to 3 was now 2. Keep in mind that these values are then multiplied by the nightmare bonus damage. So 10% or 10 damage was almost 20. 5% or 5 damage will now be 7, 8-ish damage with the on nightmare, things like that. I have seen the Hawkers now. The weird thing about the Hawker is that if he shoots and misses and he's waiting his 8 seconds, or shoots and he stands still. As far as we can tell, the Hawker will shoot, he'll miss, and then he'll just sit there. Right? In Left 4 Dead, the smoker would shoot his tongue out, and if he missed, he'd get the hell out of there. He'd run away and hide, and then come back and do it again. The Hawker, as far as we can tell, will miss and then just chill. It won't do anything. So the Hawkers might be a little bugged. Hawkers are way, way more easier to deal with, easier to dodge. They do less damage initially, and if they shoot and they miss, or they shoot and they hit, they're pretty much out of the fight. Because 8 seconds is a long time in video game time. 8 seconds is a minute in video game time. Hag health reduced. Hag weak spot multiplier increased. Hag is now easier to kill. Hag will spawn less often. Stinger projectile cooldown while perched. The Stinger, when the Stinger got onto a wall and perched, he would turn into a Gatling gun and just shoot instantly. Blah 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 blah. When the Stinger was perched, there was no cooldown on her projectile, so she was able to rapidly attack cleaners. She does that less often now. She shoots slower now. Swarm updates. Just some little stuff here. We're sort of ramping down here. The sound effect is correct. Facial icons when Ridden players ping cleaners. This is kind of neat. So when you're a Ridden player and you ping a cleaner and you're like, hey, let's kill this guy. When you ping them, people will see the face of that cleaner and get a more clear visual of who is our target, who we going for. Things like that. Added lever penalty warning pop-up in Forehode after leaving a PvP match, just to reinforce that, hey, stop ruining the player experience. Cleaners start with full ammo, whatever. Hawker pins were showing 9,999 damage on pins, whatever. Hawker pin damage reduced to equal the campaign mode. Now 5 was 10. 3 damage over time instead of 2. Controller updates, whatever. UI, UX fixes. They'll always be tweaking controllers. There's some nice little stuff there. Cleaners being pursued by the Hag will now see a corresponding screen effect, right? This is the UI and UX updates. This is the stuff that you interface with. User interface, user graphics, your HUD and all that things. Cleaners being pursued by a Hag will now see a corresponding screen effect to indicate this. This is super critical, actually. Because the only way to determine whether or not the Hag was chasing you was by character dialogue. The characters would be like, Mom, watch out! Or, oh, Evangelo, run! And that was it. That was the only indication that the Hag was chasing you. Now there's a visual effect on your screen that is hopefully pretty terrifying to see. This is also important too, because if the Hag switched aggro, the characters wouldn't always say another dialogue line. So the second player who got aggro would get no warning at all, and then the Hag would just be chasing them. So now this is going to be kind of cool. This is really, really, really big as far as knowing who has aggro, potentially giving the team more options as far as dodging the Hag in the long run. You can now duplicate decks in the deck manager. I haven't duplicated anything yet. I don't know what it looks like or feels like, but cool. Some field of view stuff got affected. Added an option to toggle blood, vomit, and mud drench off in the options menu. You ever shoot your teammates because they're just covered in blood and they look like a zombie? You can turn that off now if you like. Audio input device, mute all. Where is that? The jukebox tracks are now controlled by the music slider instead of the sound effects slider. So for streamers and content creators, playing Ballroom Blitz was kind of annoying because you'd have to mute your game because all the music is copyrighted. Um, Now you can just turn off the sound effects, and then now we can hear characters shooting and jumping and things like that. It's actually a huge disadvantage for streamers who would actually mute their SFX. I would actually just mute my game stream volume, so I would still have audio, but the viewers wouldn't. Either way, Ballroom Blitz is gonna be way more streamer friendly and way more better to watch for the audience. Subtitles are off now by default. I actually play with subtitles off. I know some of you guys play with subtitles on because you get to see like the Hag Berserk and you get to see when things spawn, things like that. I think that's kind of lame that it does that. So I actually just have them turned off. I like the clean HUD user experience. Bug fixes. I'm not going to go through all of these here. Not going to go through all of these here. Look at all these cards that got fixed.
You're telling me.
What the hell is Blood Donor? What is Blood Donor? That's not a card. That's not a card. What is Blood Donor? Anyways, it got fixed. Alright, anyways, it got fixed. It's better now. Avenge the Fallen will no longer show the infinite symbol underneath your grenade slot. When I saw that infinite grenade symbol, that symbol underneath my grenades, I did throw a grenade to see if it was infinite. It wasn't. Now there's no mix-up. Oh yeah, here's Rousing Speech. The Rousing Speech card having an incorrect in-cap trauma resistance of 80% instead of 20. This card was mega bugged. This card would turn your trauma resistance almost 100% when you got downed. Which was huge, and this card still sucked. Now it sucks even more because they fixed the bug. Fixed an issue, joining late, ownership of a character would be lost to another player when you joined in a quick match. If you joined a quick match and got control of a character, and then somebody else joined the quick match after you, they would kick you out of your character that you were controlling, and then you would have to watch. You wouldn't be able to choose a new character.
Very good.
So there's actually a lot of quick play things that got fixed here. A lot of bug fixes. Not going to go over them. Very exciting stuff. Stay tuned for a attachments video, a burn card video, all these things. Huge bugs. The link for this will be in the description of this video. Awesome stuff. I'm excited to play this patch and see how it goes. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the future.